Brazil has quite a history when it comes to Le Mans. When you look back to where the very first Brazilian raced, Hermano de Silva Ramos, back in 1954, born to a Brazilian father and a French mother. He raced 4 times here, an Aston Martin, a Gordini and a Ferrari, but that's not relevant in this because he arrived at this circuit 72 years ago. Now, 2026, Brazilian motorsport at Le Mans takes another step forward because for the very first time, the championship, or its leading Porsche championship, Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, makes its very first appearance at one of the most legendary circuits in the world and the pinnacle of sports car racing occasions, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. This is a big moment. This is the third round of the 2026 Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, and what a place to do it. Circuit de la Sarthe in France in support of the 2026 24 Hours of Le Mans. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're watching around the world on this English commentary stream. Scott Woodward here, absolutely delighted to bring you this racing action. We've got 35 Porsche 992.1 Cup cars all set to go for 45 minutes of racing, the first of 2 races. Racing on a Thursday, which these drivers are not used to. For many of these drivers, they haven't even raced very much outside of Brazil, or if not as far as Portugal. Yes, there's been European rounds before, particularly in Portugal at places like Estoril. But this is the first time these drivers get to do it on the grandest stage of them all in sports car racing here at Le Mans. And what an occasion it is to do. They also get to build on the legacy of other greats of Brazilian motorsport. Emerson Fittipaldi, who's raced here before. Nelson Piquet Jr. has raced here. So has Rubens Barrichello has competed here in LMP2. Even Bruno Senna, the nephew of the great Ayrton Senna, has raced here too. The lineage at this circuit is deep and distinguished. Even in more recent times, Lucas de Grassi, who came close, he was second in 2014 in an Audi, third in 2013, and again in 2016. Brazil has been on the podium at Le Mans, but never quite the top step in the overall race yet. But they have chances to do so. We have Pipo Derani, of course, who, along with Julian Andlau, was here teaching the drivers with a guided lap around the Le Mans circuit to get to grips with it. And of course, Felipe Nasr, because he's competing this year in Porsche, for Porsche Penske Motorsport in the hypercar class. And Pietro Fittipaldi, of course, grandson of 2-time F1 world champion Emerson Fittipaldi, is also here in an LMP2 car as well. And that Fittipaldi name has defined Brazilian motorsport for half a century here, and it's, of course, doing so as well. Now, that's a car that's already off the road and don't actually have any numerical identification to who that is. So we'll try and figure that out where we can. But a car already hitting trouble whilst we're on this formation lap. So as they head off on their formation lap and just trying to figure out the name on that one. Again, there's no number on that car, which is quite confusing. But we'll try and have a look and see who that is. It's one of the sport category cars. And also we have one of the rookie cars being pushed away as well. But again, no numerical plates on who those are. It might be the placeholder car maybe that's been there just to have a look at things. But yeah, I think that was... Whatever's happened with that Porsche is quite unusual to do so. But as you can see, this is a very special occasion for many occasions. I think actually there were 1 or 2 cars that were put in place as possibly something for a promotional point of view. So that was the car, I think, that numbered up in the mix as well. And I think what's happened is one of these cars, which is, it's gone off the road and lost the back end. So they were there for promotional purposes, and that car facing the wrong way and awkwardly parking on the grass. That's the reason why I was confused. It didn't have a number panel, but it isn't past the field. The other 35 strong field is right here on one of the most infamous stretches of motorsport tarmac in the world, the Mulsanne Straight, where these cars are going to be reaching some 280, 290 kilometers an hour in 6th gear at full chat. It's going to be quite extraordinary, but it is pretty well sorted. So let's look at the narrative of the championship coming into the weekend. Then we've had 2 weekends so far, and Interlagos to begin the season at the end of February, and then the next round at Velocitat, which is only a few weeks ago at the end of March. And coming into the weekend, it's Marcel Muller who leads the way with 2 victories and 2 fourth places, 11-point lead over Thiago Vivacqua, who picked up his first win of the season last time out at race 2 in Velocitat. Jeff Gyasi, who also picked up an excellent win at Interlagos with a bingo pass up the inside of Matheus Comparato into the Senna S, put himself into the lead. He's third on 80 points, just a point behind Thiago Vivacqua. Then Lucas Salles, who's had 2 second places this year, is in 4th, ahead of Miguel Paludo in the top 5. And then Matheus Comparato and Antonella Bassani, who's a great storyline. She picked up her first 2 top 5s in Carrera Cup last time out at Velocitat, sits 7th. Then Marcus Reguedes, who starts on pole. That's a storyline for today. Alcir Feldman, 9th, and Seba Malicelli rounding out the top 10. There are 3 categories in this class because there's also the categories for Sport and for rookies. Also, Feldman, who's 9th overall, leads the sport category for more AM drivers or gentleman drivers or enthusiasts, as I like to call them. He leads ahead of Seba Malucelli and Israel Salmon, who's on the pole for the sport category here today, and Linu Perez and Rajan Mascarello. And then in the rookie category, for drivers in their first season, what a name this is. Pipo Massa, only in his first season of racing after racing karting last year. He took pole and victory first time out in the championship in the class. He leads the category by 7 points from Bruno Campos in second, and Marco Billi, who picked up an excellent win before retiring in the second race last time at Velocita. So here's the grid then. Marcos Regueiras on his first pole position. That's quite a storyline in the championship. Nobody quite expected that from last year's Carrera Sport champion. He's alongside Marcel Muller, the championship leader. 27 career poles. He starts on the front row, having never seen this circuit before Wednesday. Jeff Giassi won race 2 in Interlagos. He starts alongside Miguel Mariotti. We heard of Thiago Vivacqua and Miguel Paludo. And then Pipo Massa, the fastest rookie driver, on row 4 alongside Antonella Bassani. That's quite a row to watch out for, given Bassani's in good form. Israel Salmon is on the sport category pole with Lucas Salas in the top 10. Then Lunu Perez and Mateus Comparato make up row 6. Row 7, Pietro Fantin, he was fastest in P1 and P2, but then qualified 13th. Not sure where the form went, but he's now alongside Jose Mauro Nieto. Seba Malucelli and Jose Mars Jr. come next from Christian Moore and Pedro Boisel, who's the nephew of former F1 and IndyCar racer, and second place Le Mans finisher Raul Boisel, here back in 1991, a Jaguar. Roman Zivkovic and Silvio Moristoni round up the top 20 for Rodrigo Mello and Leonardo Herman. Then Marco Pisani, and you're not seeing things it should be, if you look back forwards. Yes, Michael Fassbender, who of course who has an example here, having raced in Le Mans before, at 2022 and 23 in a Porsche endurance car. Now here for us as a sprint rookie and improving by 30 seconds across 2 days. But it's Francisco Horta, followed by Carlos Campos, Marco Billi, who's fresh off a rookie win. And he ended Pipo Massa's perfect rookie winning record at Velocita. And Leonardo Sanchez, Bruno Campos, Wagner Pointes, Paulo Sousa, Luis Souza, Edu Guedes, Andrei Gadzinski, and Kim Sang-ho, the Korean driver, starting at the back of the field. 35 cars set to go. So, 45 minutes of racing. Typically, these races are 25 minutes, but because of the length of the circuit, 13.6 kilometers, it's going to be quite key to get as many laps in. We'll expect about 10 or 11 laps or so given the pace, unless we have safety cars. This championship also has a boost system, and for this weekend, there are 15 activations total across qualifying and race 1 and race 2. The boost basically gives you roughly around about another 5% of horsepower. It's active for 30 seconds each time. There's a 20-second delay after activations, and it's also then 45 seconds lockout after use. And you cannot use it on restarts on the first lap of the race until you pass the 4,000 meter mark. And quite perfectly, that is on the exit of Tertre Rouge. So what you'll see, if drivers are using the boost function, the headlights will start to flash, and that shows that they are using their boost to get through. And of course, you only get those set of activations once you use them. That's it. That's the key thing. Track limits also was a factor in the championship qualifying. A few first corners, a few drivers had lap times deleted, and rolling start, of course, cars running side by side. So what to watch out for this one then? Well, Miguel Paludo, we're looking for an excellent run here. Thiago Vivacqua has race victories, and he will want to try and really put this forward. Regueiras 15th in the wet in qualifying to 4th in P2, and took pole by only 0.08 of a second. And on a 13.6 kilometer lap, that's a real fine margin. He was last year's Carrera Sport champion, stepped up to the overall class this year, been building pace all weekend. Marcel Muller, the championship leader, he's been the man to beat all season. 5-time champion across Porsche Brazil sprint endurance titles. Fastest in FP2, only 0.08 off pole. And this is a field that nobody has ever raced at before. And looking to try and make sure he does a grand job. Jeff Giassi, of course, starting 3rd, arguably the most dangerous driver. One race to it into Interlagos in his first full season. Miguel Mariotti could be a dark horse as well from P4 on the grid. Thiago Vivacqua is a race winner too. Miguel Paludo, the defending champion, has got some work to do as well. And of course, watch for Pipo Massa, 16 years old, the son of the 2008 vice champion in the Formula 1 World Championship. He'll start from 7th. And what about Antonella Bassani? Took her first 2 top 5s, got close to a podium. She'll be on form as well. Israel Salmon starts from P9 in the sport category. There are many special occasions when it comes to a driver's career, and for all 35 of these drivers, they get to do something very, very special indeed. Lining up in formation 2 by 2, running towards the forward chicane. Once they come onto the front straight at the world's biggest endurance event, we're set to get racing for the very first time in this championship for Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil at Le Mans. So, Marcos Regueiras will start on pole position He is on the right of your screen in gold and green. It's yellow and black for the front runner alongside. They run 2 by 2 through the fourth chicane. Get ready for a piece of Brazilian motorsport history, because for the very first time, Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil gets to showcase the best of Porsche racing from South America at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Side by side, to the line, and race one for the first time at Le Mans for Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. When the lights go out, is go! Strong start from Regueiras. He moves across to hold off from Maludo as they come towards the complex at the chicane for the first time at the Dunlop chicane. And up towards the Goodyear Bridge. Giassi's in the mix as well. They turn in through the left and the right. And it looks as though it will be Regueiras who leads the way. Muller in second place, Giassi in third. Couple of cars scattering over the first few chicanes under the Goodyear Bridge for the first time. And then towards the Forest S's, and that'll take them all the way through towards Tertre Rouge for the first time. There is 21, which is a good start from and what a start they make towards Tertre Rouge. Muller second, Giassi third, Vivac was fourth, and Peter massive way. He was seventh on the grid, up 2 places away to fifth. Now they come through Tertre Rouge, and for the very first time onto the Mulsanne straight at racing speeds. This is some 70,500 horsepower shaking the ground here at Le Mans. And here comes Marcel Muller to the outside line. Regueiras side by side already towards the first chicane. There's battles behind. Vivacqua looking to defend fourth from Massa. And already before they even get to the braking zone, Marcel Muller, the championship leader, is into the lead here at Le Mans. And a big dive up the inside from somebody behind. Thought that was Salmon, I think, going for a move ahead of Bassani. And made it through. So Mariotti has also made up a couple of places, and we've got a yellow flag further back on my timing screen as we head down the second part of the Mulsanne straight. They're in 6th gear at some 290 kilometers an hour, running over the outside time that was 117. That was Pietro Fantin, who was quite quick in practice, but didn't qualify high enough. There goes Regueiras on the boost. You can see the headlights flashing. He tries to defend. He might go a little deep into the chicane, and he has to get the up and over. Muller goes back around the outside to go side by side on the exit over the curb as he puts his foot down and he slots back in. Already 2 lead changes, but look at Jeff Giassi working forwards, and there's the yellow flag. That is 93. It's Michael Fassbender, in fact. So not a great start for Michael, and the Hollywood actor getting used to life back in a Porsche again. Down towards the end of the Mulsanne straight, one of the biggest braking zones. You brake in a straight line towards the outside, flick right. This is the deepest part of the circuit, and now you start the run back towards the pit complex, onto what is said by many as the fastest part of the course. And there is Felipe Massa on the left watching his son Pipo. He's definitely a chip off the old block. More drivers using the boost function. And Regueiras is not done here. We're going to get another lead change now. Looking to the outside. Jeff Giassi just keeping his powder dry. He's on the boost too. Regueiras with his foot down. He goes to the front. Look at Giassi around the outside, trying to make it 3 wide. Giassi goes past Marcel Muller and Regueiras round the outside. They're still wheel to wheel up towards Indianapolis. Regueiras holds his line round the outside. This is only lap 1. There's still 42 minutes to go, but they're racing like it's the final lap sprint. Up to Arnage, down towards the first gear. And back towards the pit complex again. Through the gears once more. One car running wide in the background. Pipo Massa leads the rookie category, but quite away from Jose Maranetto. And then Maka Pizzani in 3rd place. Sport category led by the pole sitter Israel Salmon. And that's him ahead of the 888 of Lucas Ledeu Perez. And Josimar Jr. in number 27 currently holds 3rd in that category. He's in 15th into the aptly named Porsche curves. What a shot, one after the other. Flying past the camera. Some 8,750 RPM these cars reach up to on the rev limiter. So just over 500 horsepower in these Porsche Carrera Cup cars, the 992.1 spec. And winding up towards the 4th chicane for the first time. Regueiras on a little more boost, trying to get away now. And this is the crucial thing. You want to try and make your moves in this early part of the races. One car diving into target, Vivacqua goes to the pits. So why Vivacqua has to pit, but he's at full effect. He's skipped over chicane into pit lane. So Thiago Vivacqua with a problem of some kind that feels like he has to head to pit lane. End of the very first racing lap of their history at Le Mans for Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, and the honour of leading it goes to Marcos Regueiras. He leads the way. Gyasi in second place. Muller in third. Pipo Massa, thanks to Vivacqua pitting, he's up to fourth. So Paludo fifth. There's a challenge on here. That's Lucas Salas going up the inside of Israel Salmon. And a move into the Dunlop chicane. And he makes it to sixth. And also going with it is Pietro Fantin. Now, Pietro, for whatever reason, didn't have a great qualifying. Back in 13th, but he had great pace in practice. Practice 1 was wet yesterday. And then practice 2 was dry. But not a good qualifying for him. So he's trying to make up for lost time. We've got a yellow flag on the circuit as well. So Sales and Fantin started to move forwards as we head on to the Mulsanne straight for the second time. And Vivacqua, whatever the issue was, I don't know if it was a puncture or some kind of issue, he had to try and reset. But he's back out, but he's down to last and possibly out of contention. Marcel Muller on the boost, so is Regadas, back to second for the championship leader. And Gyasi, I feel that this might be the narrative leader of the race, but I'll be intrigued to see what Pipo Massa can do in fourth. He's the second of the white cars in line. Pietro Fantin looking to the outside of Lucas Sales, and that puts him into 8th position, but he might get a little too deep, and he does. Has to get it stopped, might go down into second gear, and Sales will come back at him on the exit. And also there's a great fight developing behind for the 3 cars scrapping for 10th. That's Antonella Bassani, Matheus Comparato, and in there too Israel Salmon. I think Bassani has got past, so she's up to 9th. The sport category leader is down to the base of the top 10. Now I want to watch Pipo Massa in 4th position, the young 16-year-old, only his first year of car racing full stop. He has raced in Europe before. He did race a Porsche Cup car towards the end of last season in Portugal. I won his class by doing so there. So he's not adverse to racing in Europe, and they do race in Europe and outside of Brazil. They have raced several times in Portugal and also in Argentina. But of course, this is a legendary occasion to see Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil showcasing the best that they have of GT racing talent on the world stage at Le Mans. Down the outside goes Miguel Paludo, and he goes to 4th position past Pipo Massa. And now again, out of Mulsanne corner and back towards Indianapolis as we go back towards the end of lap number 2. See there, Matheus Comparato trying to put a move on. Looks like that is Perez. And holds on for the time being. What a sight and sound they make, these Porsche Cup cars. We had the combined race last year, if memory serves me correctly, for Porsche Carrera Cup Scandinavia and Porsche Carrera Cup France. Porsche always synonymous here with Le Mans, having won 19 times. Of course, they'll be chasing number 20 this weekend in their last year running with Porsche Penske Motorsport in the hypercar class. Sad to see them go, but they want to try and finish with a flourish where they can. Further down, more battles in the sport category. So that's Josimar Junior towards the bottom of the top 20 overall. Also keep an eye on the nephew of Raul Boisel, Pedro Boisel, that car number 11, consistently in the top 20 all weekend. His first appearance in the championship this weekend too. So here we see Lucas Sales in green and orange, followed by Antonella Bassani and Comparato in the top 10. Now Muller and Regadas are starting to pull away from Jeff Gyasi in 3rd position, and if anything, Gyasi started to fall back into the clutches of Miguel Paludo and Pipo Massa, who hasn't been dropped by the champion. Still holding station in 5th, but it's a really impressive run from Pipo. Remember, it's only his 5th ever car race, or 5th or 6th ever car race, and to be here at Le Mans is quite an occasion. That's pretty special to do that at such a young age. End of lap 2. Looking here at Miguel Mariotti, scrapping away with Pietro Fantin, again making that steady progress up the field. He was a single-seater runner. Pietro didn't have a great run at Interlagos. He then managed to pick up 2 top 10s at Velocita. He wants to try and move forward if he can. He's going to try and outbrake Mariotti into the chicane, but Mariotti, wise to it, wiggles his way through underneath the Goodyear Bridge. Of course, that's been replaced for the first time in over 100 years, because that used to be the Dunlop Bridge as everyone knew it. But rebranded thanks to Goodyear's acquisition of Dunlops, and they've gone to the Goodyear Bridge. It's the Forest SS, and Fantin getting very sideways. He's not putting the power down cleanly enough. That's lost him a few car lengths. He might well have to rely on boost to get him back towards them. And he's also, thanks to that mistake, falling back into the clutches of the battle that's going on for 8th position. And here's a replay of the start, a moment of history for these drivers, and we'll piece together exactly who did what. I want to see exactly how Pipo Massa also got the jump to get himself from 7th to 5th, but they formed up in this beautiful 2x2 formation. And when lights went out, Muller got a good jump. He tried to put himself alongside, but look at Pipo Massa, the second white car, got the run on Paludo, and it was Mariotti that also lost out because he lost several spots in the shuffle. He was a little wide over the curb, and Massa just went straight through, and he even elbowed him out wide as there was 2 more cars that went wide. And that is how Michael Fassbender went around. Usually the question, did he jump or was he pushed? It looked like he did that all by himself. Leaders down the Mulsanne straight for the third time of asking. Only some 10 minutes into this race. As we see once again, side by side, Mariotti can't resist Fantin anymore. And straight through into what is now 7th position. And then Sales, or 6th in fact, because it's Fantin into 6th, Mariotti 7th, I'll correct myself. Then Sales, Bassani and Comparato. And here comes Antonella Bassani. Really, really impressive female driver. Would not surprise me if we see her racing at Le Mans here in the future in a GT car on LMP2. And she's showing her pace here down the outside. Sales will give as good as he gets. Under brakes, and Antela gets it, but can she get it stopped? She runs a little too deep, and Sales is straight there to her side as they exit Mulsanne corner. Now the sprint back towards. There's contact in the background. One car's gone off into the gravel at Mulsanne. Now, I can't quite catch who it was, but we're looking at the battle here. We'll come back to that in a moment. It might be Seba Malicelli because he's dropping down the order. But it could be Josimar Jr. and Moristoni because they're also slipping down the timing screen. Back to that in a second. This is the 3-way fight for 8th, and Bassani stuck on the outside. Comparato wants to go with Sales, who's going to be daring to make this work. And it's Bassani down the outside before they hit the brakes, and there is Moristoni off the road. Not quite impressed with what happened. There was clearly contact with somebody. There was a couple of cars going down the timing screen, and that would have been right in the middle of the sport category battle. So unfortunately, Moristoni's first few laps at Le Mans have come to a premature end. Gap at the front as we're preparing for a slow zone at turn 5, at zone 5. So yellow's out on the circuit, which means there'll be a slow zone for the incident, and that's right down at Mulsanne corner, which is where Moristoni went off. As the race continues on, lead gap is about 8.5 tenths at this point. We get this beautiful aerial shot of the cars working their way through the Porsche curves and back towards the Ford chicane for the end of lap number 3. So Regueiras still trying to pull the gap out. Almost a second between himself and Muller. Angela Bassani turns in through the chicane. Sales gives a big thump of the curb. As Moristoni, again, still looking rather unimpressed, throws his hands up to the crowd and said, well, I'm all okay. And he gets a round of applause as well. Bassani trying to pull away the gap here. This now gives Comparato a chance to try and attack. And Sales is not comfortable on the racing line. He might outbrake himself. But on the wrong line, somebody's gone around up at the middle of the Ford chicane. Trying to catch his 83 that's gone around. And 83 is one of the rookies by the look of it, on the sport category cars. 83 is Marcabili, in fact. He's had a spin. The man who took a victory at last time out at Velocita. Got some work to do tumbling down on the order. On to the Mulsanne. Muller getting a little closer now. Gap is down by about 3 tenths. And there's a piece of body work that's also in the middle of the Porsche curve as well. That'll be a legacy for some contact. Marcel Muller, the championship leader, of course, 5-time champion across Brazil sprint and endurance. Born in Nova Hertz and Rio Grande do Sul. Gaucho state is synonymous with Brazilian motorsport. As ever, our hard-working marshals, quick to pick up. Let's see how that occurred. Now, this is Marcabili getting himself back onto the road. And grass tracking as he picks his way back through. Takes the agricultural route back onto the circuit. This is a little further back here. This is a scrap going on with car 11 by the look of it. And this This is more battles going on here. Right further than a couple of our rookies having a scrap. This is between number 3 or number 9, in fact, this is. Find the numbers on the screen. Oh, there we go. So we've got into the slow zone now for the incident down at Mulsanne Corner. And the battle we saw in there was between the 3rd place scrap for the sport category, which is Christian Moore, and also the 23 that was in the mix as well, which is of Ehrman. So now we are under the slow zone. So it's not a safety car, but it's under. So Leonardo Ehrman was in that battle, and that's how Marco Billy got around up at the chicane in the midst of that heated battle. So he's now tumbled down the order with work to do. There's a very proud father watching on there in Felipe Massa. Of course, still racing in Stock Car Brazil these days. And of course, now his son's starting his own racing journey. Only came out of karting last year. Now, on the world stage here at Le Mans, what a place to do it. So as the slow zone, everyone starts to accelerate back once again. So it means we can go back to racing. Now, Paludo did try to close in on the slow zone, and Giassi's had a really good jump to put himself in potentially. Marcel Muller forcing himself to the inside line over the curb. Goodness me, Jeff Giassi really going for it. He was determined to get that 2nd place and throws it up the inside at one of the fastest parts of the circuit. This boy's got some guts. He put up an absolutely stunning pass at Interlagos on the restart after a safety car. He dummied to the outside, then right at the last minute, went straight to the inside line, left Matheus Comparato no choice but to be run out wide and give him no space, and through he went, which led him towards his first Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil victory. Jeff Giassi is an absolute fighter when it comes to making moves. And what a showcase, a platform he's been given here to showcase those moves on the grandest stage of sports car racing of them all, at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Really impressive stuff. And now he's trying to go for the lead. And I thought for a second he was going to dive up the inside to make a move into the Porsche curves at Maison Blanche. But Giassi really fired up. I'd love to see a replay of that if our World Feed director will give us that. But Giassi was absolutely taking no for an answer. Or not taking no for an answer, I should say. And he might take advantage of Regueiras running wide on the exit of the Porsche curves. He's really closing in on the approach towards the Ford chicane. He might try and draw himself alongside, give him no choice. He closes back in, really close in front, and Muller will also benefit from that too. And the harder these three fight each other, the easier it is for them to make a break. And Regueiras goes to the 2nd part of the Ford chicane, doesn't get the line right, and as Giassi tries to attack, Muller goes with him. He won't be on the boost, but down towards the Dunlop chicane, Regueiras is on the boost. Now it's wheel to wheel. Muller goes for 2nd, puts himself in front, and Paludo's closing in as well. Watch for Pipo Massa. He's in there in the mix in 5th position. This is a superb 5-car fight for the lead. Regueiras holds on by the skin of his teeth. And these 5 are really putting on a show here at Le Mans. These guys are taking this opportunity to showcase themselves at the 24 Hours. And there is still more than half the race to go. What a prospect this is going to be. Out of the Forest S's, up towards Terre Rouge, and then the run up the Mulsanne straight once again. This is on the 5th lap of the race. Salmon still leads the sport category from Perez in 2nd, Ehrman in 3rd, then Morin Zimkovic, and by far Pipo Massa is the leader in rookie from Jose Marinieto and Pisani. Up to 3rd goes Paludo on the boost past Giassi, but you can guarantee, given how fired up that Giassi is, he will not stay there for long. Miguel Paludo, who started P6, defending champion, the most decorated driver in the history of this series, 42 years old. He lives in North Carolina now after his NASCAR years. As Muller makes the move to the front. This is a bit like NASCAR in itself, isn't it? Regueiras getting the side draft. Here comes Paludo. Here comes Giassi. They're all over each other. Paludo across the grass, 3 wide down the middle of the Mulsanne straight. And here comes Giassi on top of it as well. This is sensational racing. Giassi might get 2 for the price of 1. Up towards the 2nd chicane. Under brakes, goes for the lead, in fact, almost. He almost got 3 in that sequence, but Giassi goes to 2nd. Massa's involved as well. So as the 2nd chicane, it's now Paludo at leads, Gyasi second, Muller third, then Regueiras, then Massa. And I'd watch for Pietro Fantin because of the yellow car in the background. He's closing in as well. There's no slow zone down towards Mulsanne corner, so they can race and they can attack. On the boost, down towards Mulsanne corner. Into Mali goes Gyasi. Here comes Regueiras to get third place back again, but I'd watch for Pietro Fantin. Remember, he was fastest in practice in both the sessions, and then he was only 13th in qualifying, but making up for lost time here. So it's now a six-pack for Mali because Fantin is benefiting from all of this battling, all this scrapping, all this fighting, which is entertaining. But the harder they fight each other, the easier it is for more cars behind to start to benefit and to make the leading group bigger. Up towards Indianapolis. Paludo now in the tow. Which way does he go? We know Gyasi will try and go defensive. Muller's also trying to defend from Regueiras and looking for an opportunity to get through. He'll close up under braking, and Pietro Fantin is there. He's closed the gap in immediately. So it is now a six-car fight for the lead. He's right on the tail of Pipo Massa, and here comes Muller. Diving to the inside up at Arnage. And Paludo has to give him the space. Firing out of Arnage, down to first gear and back through the gears again. All 500 plus horsepower right down to the tarmac as they come back towards it. Is that Gyasi has got his wiper on. There might be a tiny sprinkle of rain. There was a low chance of rain, about 10 to 15% I saw somewhere, but could be to clear his visibility. This is magnificent stuff. And if you've never seen Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil before, a lot of these spectators here might not have seen them, but it really is giving them a chance to showcase some talents, which I'm sure a lot of the wet teams will be watching on here with great interest. And what a showcase it is for some Brazilian talents to possibly get their chance to step further in the mix. Now, there are wet tyres being prepared, so this could be interesting. We might even get some unexpected mid-race pit stops if somebody wants to gamble and go onto wet tyres. The thing is that unless the rain starts to fall consistently across multiple areas of the circuit, if it's raining on one part of the course, you have to make a choice. Do you brave it out on those wet parts of the circuit, knowing that the rest is dry, or do you come in and bet on the rain getting harder and more parts of the circuit getting saturated? That's the key strategy for some people here. And there's still 23 minutes to go as Pietro Fantin goes to fifth position past Massa, but Massa giving as good as he gets. He's his father's son, all right, up the inside, defends the place, but Fantin's seen this before. Looks for the up and under. He'll be side by side on the exit. Fantin gets the traction, wheel to wheel towards the first part of the S's and goes, thank you very much, Pipo. Up into fifth position. So one step closer towards the front. And further back, there's more battles going on here. It's one of our rookie drivers battling with, it looks like, I think, this is car 12. This is Pisani and Junior for 20th place. So Marco Pisani and Josimar Junior. And they're in a scrap as well with the yellow car just behind it as well. And that is Francisco Rota as well. This is over the top 20 positions. Battles everywhere you look in this first race. And we ain't done by a long shot. So Gyasi now leading on the boost. Remember, you only get 15 uses of the boost over qualifying race 1 and race 2. So once you've used it, that's it. You have to use it strategically where you can. A little further back, that was the scrap going on before 4th and 5th position. This is now that fight we saw before between Rota, Junior and Pisani. That's 22nd to 20th. And Mello in 19th place, just in front of them, several seconds up. As on the boost, here comes Junior. Under brakes. And Pisani lets him have it. He's not in the same class. He's the rookie category compared to the 2 sport category cars that were around him. And we get a replay here of what happened. This is the leaders coming through. And that is Regueiras with a wide moment, exiting the Forest S's, kicking up the dust. And that's the reason why he lost some ground. Just pushing a little too hard. Just rumbling over the curbs, and lucky to get away with that one. That would have been a heart in mouth moment. Try to throw up a smoke screen where he can. Now there's tyre changes going on for the number 9 that's coming to the pit lane. So that's possibly a gamble for what we think is wet conditions. That is Guedes, who is one of the rookie category cars. Looks like they're changing tyres because they think the rain might get harder. Leaders out of Mulsanne corner now. This is the 6th lap of the race. Pietro Fantin has the fastest lap of the race. He's got a 4 minutes 6.368, about 2 seconds off what they were doing in qualifying. Managed 4 minute 4s in the faster sessions. as Muller puts Gyasi under pressure. Marcel Muller, of course, who was in good form last time at Velocita and indeed at Interlagos. So far he has won a race at the first 2 events. He'd love to do so to keep his 100% record of a victory every round. And putting Gyasi under pressure is certainly the right way to go about it. But we know how much Gyasi is a fighter. He will not give up a place, but he also will go for it where he can. Jeff Gyasi, who started on third position, 28 years old, and he's arguably the most dangerous driver in the field over a race distance. And going through the Porsche curves once again, definitely the student outperforming the classroom in this sense. That's gosh, Camposch's number 14 machine with a slightly unintended extra aero brake on the front, shall we say. Another car was trailing bodywork. That is 27. That's also been having some... That was the battle that was going on. There was Josimar Junior who was trailing that bodywork a little further back. Now, Gyasi's windscreen wiper is still going, which suggests there is a little sprinkle of rain out there, but whether some people are actually going bold enough to gamble on there being some more rain and needing wet tyres, I don't see it falling really hard enough as far as I can tell on the screen, but that's going to be required. But nonetheless, they're braving it out. And we're getting to that part of the race now where things are starting to just eke out a little more. Pietro Fantin keeping his progress up the field. He's now in 5th position. And he was, last time by, did the gap, he's only 2/10 behind Regadas, so he'll try and pick up P4 where he can. He'll try and line him up for a move down the Mulsanne into one of the braking zones for one of the chicanes. So Regadas, the pole sitter, who put in a fantastic lap. He was only 0.08 of a second quicker than Marcel Muller, who also now has the fastest lap of the race as the championship leader. There's third place man Paludo in red and yellow, trying to be on the boost to catch up to Muller, whilst Pietro Fantin in bright yellow battling Regadas. And even though Regadas is on the boost as well, you can see the headlights flashing. He's fighting back. He's not going to give this one up that easy. There was an overtake for a fraction of a second, but they're still wheel to wheel on the braking zone. Who wants to play chicken? Who wants to be last of the late breakers? It's Fantin who does it, but he might be a little bit too late to stop, but he gets it anchored up in time. And now Regadas will have a chance here to try and retaliate. On to the second part of the straight. Remember, these cars are pretty much full throttle for the most I think they'll ever be on a lap this season, because they'll be on the limiter at some 270, 280, almost 290 kilometers an hour down the back straight. That's over 170 miles an hour as they make their way towards the front. Battle there between Francisco Horta and Josimar Junior. That's for 8th position in the sport category. Israel Salman still leads that from Linu Perez and Leonardo Ehrman. There's more battles going on up and down the field. That is, looks like that's between Moore, Zimkovic and Malucelli that were battling there over position. Now, car 23, which has been given a 5-second track limits penalty. As we see there, looks like that is Josimar Junior getting back past Francisco Horta into the second chicane. Now, 23 is the third place man in sport. That's Leonardo Ehrman. So Leonardo Ehrman's been given a time penalty for track limits. That means even though he's in that battle, he won't factor into that by the time he gets the checkered flag and that penalty is applied. See, Pipo Massa's pace has dropped a little bit. He's now falling into the clutches of Miguel Mariotti in green and black. Coming into the weekend 9th in the championship. Side by side here. This is between two more of our sport category cars. And they're still wheel to wheel. That is the 333, I think that's battling. Couldn't quite catch the number on that. We'll look at it on the screen. That is actually Salles just in front of them. In fact, this is for the lead, in fact, in the... Yeah, Salles is 10th. This is for the sport category lead then. So Lini Perez has caught Israel Salman, who started on pole. And he was about almost 3/10 quicker in the first sector. So Salman has led quite the distance, but so far is now under threat now going to the second half of the race. sweeping through the Porsche curves. There has been a change for 6th, so Mariotti has got past Massa. But Pipo Massa is still by far and away leader in the rookie category. Jose Maranetto is 2nd in car 45, excuse me. And then Marco Pizzani, and it's number 15 in 4th place in class, which is the Leonardo Sanchez, and that's then followed by Bruno Campos in car number 33 and 5th in category 2. A little further back, this is Zimkovic and there is Campos, in fact, fighting for 23rd position overall with Zimkovic. Zimkovic, who has been in the past, he was the Endurance Carrera Sport champion alongside Nelson Piquet Jr. And that partnership with the son of the triple world champion Nelson Piquet is a notable footnote. And he did make a little bit of progress from P21 to P19 in qualifying. As we see here, more scraps going on, looking for the battles up and down the field. Great to see some of the rookie drivers getting amongst some of the more enthusiast drivers. I don't like the term, with the Carrera Sport category, I never like the term amateur because it implies that amateurs don't have as much talent, but there are some very talented AM drivers. I prefer to call them more enthusiasts because they go racing because they love it and they enjoy the sport. And the brakes for the Dunlop chicane, but underneath the Goodyear bridge. So Chiassi's lead is still hovering at about just under 7/10 of a second. Paludo is 1.8 back, and Pietro Fantin now with the fastest lap of the race. And he now has a chance to take 3rd place from Miguel Paludo. And I tell you what, if Fantin keeps moving this progress, 4-minute 5.613 for him with the fastest lap of the race, I wouldn't put it past him making some moves to push forwards and go for trying to catch the top 2. But he'll need both Chiassi and Muller to start fighting, and that requires Muller to catch Chiassi back up. Now, he might well try and do that in the toe down the long straights here, but it's not the easiest thing to do, particularly in the second half of the race when it's starting to get a little more drawn out. So we're currently on lap 8 of this first race of the weekend for Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. Here it's an incredible occasion, the 2026 24 Hours of Le Mans on the full Le Mans circuit. This really is a special occasion for the championship and for all of these drivers involved. What a chance they get to showcase themselves and to enjoy one of the most legendary circuits in the world, and arguably the biggest endurance race in the world of anywhere in motorsport, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, in terms of just how prestigious it is. Out of Morsan come the leaders, and if Fantin keeps on pushing, I'm sure he will have an opportunity to pick up 3rd place if he's able to squeeze past. And we know that Miguel Paludo, being the defending champion, he will not make it easy for Pietro. More battles here. This is scraps on as the spectators watch trackside, enjoying the action. This is Marco Pizzani, and then we've got Leonardo Sanchez, who is battling with Roman Zimkovic and Bruno Campos. Both of them have caught the man in 22nd position. So the leader's now coming back down towards Arnage. It's the only corner they'll go to 1st gear, because they'll be about 3rd gear or 2nd if they need it down at the chicanes. Flat out. And just in the background I can see, that is a change for 5th position, because there goes on the boost Marco Mariotti past the pole sitter Regadas. So starting on P1, he's now back down to P6. And the rest of the top 10 is Pipo Massa, who's now been caught again. Good form in the first part of the race, but he's dropped off in the second part, whether it's using up his tyres or just other drivers starting to find their groove coming in. But now Pipo Massa is falling backwards into the clutches of Antonella Bassani, who was the first woman to win a race in Porsche Cup Brasil history in 2023. She's in her first full Carrera Cup season. Lives in Concordia in Santa Catarina, where she was born. 6th in the wet FP1. Had some kind of an issue in FP2. She's only 33rd. Bounced back to P8. She was one of 4 finalists in the inaugural FIA Girls on Track Rising Stars programme. And fittingly supported on that car by Mobil 1. It's on the 30th anniversary of Mobil 1's partnership with Porsche. So what a great way to honour that here, racing on their behalf. A little further back. This is outside the top 20, outside quite far down the order by the look of it. That is 29th place. That's Miguel Fassbender. This is Michael Fassbender and Thiago Vivacqua, who will certainly be wondering a case of what might have been, because we don't quite know why he pitted on the opening lap. He had an issue that saw him fall to the back of the field, and he's now only just really catching and passing Michael Fassbender for what is now 29th position. His lap times, his best lap's been a 4 minutes 7.628. You compare that to the leaders who've been doing 4 minutes 6 and 4 minutes 5, whatever the issue was, really hasn't worked out in his favour at all. And there, side by side, that was Fantin going past Miguel Paludo. And another mistake, this time it's Mariotti that's gone wide. Over the curve, he's done exactly what Regueiras did several laps ago. Goes for a wild ride before he goes through Tertre Rouge, and that's lost in momentum on the run to the Mulsanne Straight. He's now going to be repassed by Regueiras. And intriguingly enough, Pipo Massa has also gotten away from Bassani and is catching the two cars in front. So it's just starting to come back together here with just under 10 minutes to go. Regueiras didn't get a good run through the first part of the first chicane. That will now put Mariotti back on his rear wing. Massa in there as well. And what could Bassani do here? Could she possibly move up to as high as 5th position? We get her 3rd top 5 in as many races in a row. Now it's also getting close between the leaders and 3rd place. So Fantin has got past Paludo. And remember, Fantin started in 13th place on the grid after being fastest in both the practice sessions, wet and dry. Now, I asked the question, is it possible that Fantin could win this race? He's only 2 seconds off the lead at the moment. And Muller and Gyasi are together. It's off the road with the damage to the left rear. That's Josimar Jr. Now, we get a replay of how that happened. We're going to see here, actually, before that, this is the move between Mariotti and Regueiras. Regueiras getting passed on the boost after the mistake out of Tertre Rouge. So car stranded, looks like, on the Mulsanne Straight. That might cause a slow zone. Now, Gyasi has lost the lead to Marcel Muller, so he managed to get past, but now they're going to go wheel to wheel. We saw how this went before, didn't we, these two? And they do not want to give each other an inch. And, of course, if these two keep on fighting, it will bring the two cars behind battling for 3rd right into play. And Paludo's not finished with Fantin either. He's lining him up too. Side by side on the approach towards the Indianapolis complex. Neither want to give an inch, and now it's almost side by side for 3rd. Gyasi would give as good as he gets. Does he dare go around the outside? Oh, yes, he does. And he just about gets it anchored up, but Muller goes to the outside line. They're wheel to wheel through the slightly banked corner of Indianapolis, and there goes Muller off onto the gravel. He runs wide, clips the Goodyear branding. That will now put him back into the clutches of Pietro Fantin and Miguel Paludo. What did I say? If these two start fighting each other, as the team watches on, Pietro Fantin has a real chance of possibly even getting 2nd or winning this race. But he's running out of time and options here. He might get, I think, 2 more laps to do it. And he's straight onto the tail of Marcel Muller, up towards Maison Blanche, to the outside line. Muller holds his line. Fantin looks for the up and under because he knows that Muller's rattled after that little excursion exiting Indianapolis because he dared go down the outside. Gyasi was the one that basically dared him to go there. He'd said, right, if you're going to come and get this place or try and stop me, I'm going to go around the outside. You got the choice to do so whether you want to or not. And there's the replay. Gyasi, little flick of the tail as he came out of Indianapolis, just flicks the Goodyear boarding. So that says good go rather than good year. And what's intriguing now is that I think Muller is going to come back at Gyasi, but he's now got company because Pietro Fantin's in there. So we're going to get 2 more laps here in this first race. And this battle for the lead is anything but done. There's still 3, maybe 4 in it. We will wait and see how this plays out. Now, intriguingly as well, Mariotti's dropped down the order I've just seen because he's not in that group which features Regueiras, Massa or Bassani. There is a yellow out somewhere as well. As we see here, this is now a change for the sport category lead because Perez has got ahead of Salmon. So a move then. This is, of course, in 11th place overall. And Ismail Salmon, who started on pole, was last year's Carrera rookie champion, leading the sport class. And he's proving exactly how that pathway intends. He's been the fastest sport driver in every session this weekend. Got an excellent top 10 in qualifying, but of course Pipo Massa out-qualified him, getting 7th on the grid. Little battle further back as we look into the field. This is between Sousa and Marco Billy, who's recovering after his spin earlier on. As again, these two are at it once more. Muller gets the draft down the outside, and before they even hit the brakes for the first chicane, back into the lead. But just watch for that bright yellow car, Pietro Fantin, because he will come. And Muller didn't get a good run through the first chicane. That was not a tidy run through the apex. And now here comes once again Jeff Gyasi. And you know exactly what's going to happen. In the toe, down towards the second chicane, back through the gears, on the limiters in 6th gear, some 280 kilometers an hour plus, in the slipstream. Gyasi just waiting. Where's he going to go? Does he dare go around the outside? Do we even have to ask that question? Of course he's going to go to the outside. This is Jeff Gyasi. He always goes for the move that might be a little bit more trickier. But he's definitely pushing hard. But again, and whether these two in this kind of lap and a bit can start to try and pull away here, because Fantin's not taken advantage of that. He's dropped a little bit. Now, car 80's been given a 5-second penalty. That is Roman Zimkovic for his 5th track limits infringement. You get 4 chances. If you do it a 5th time, you do get a time penalty. So Gyasi now trying to line up a possible retaliation at Muller down towards Morsan corner. Now, remember what these two did before a lap ago. Wheel to wheel, side by side, down this run up the circuit. And of course, it was Muller that went wide over the gravel. So we'll see, because Muller is on the boost. You only get about a sort of 20 to 30 brake horsepower increase on the boost. And of course, you only get a limited amount to use, 15 pushes. So you have to be careful how you use it. But Muller's not interested. There's a car off in the gravel. I think that's 25 off the road. And that is, yeah, Sousa's off the road up at the first chicane. Now we're going to replay how that might have happened. And this is Marco Billy up the inside. And to answer the question, did he jump or was he pushed? Unfortunately, did it all by himself. Lost the back end into the gravel. And I'm afraid you can spin your wheels as much as you like. That car's going no further. And this is now, further back, this is now Pedro Boisel, who's called the nephew of former IndyCar and F1 racer Raul Boisel. As I said earlier on, finished 2nd at Le Mans in 1991 for Jaguar. Done Le Mans 3 times for Jaguar. Good to see his nephew also getting behind the wheel. And he's now dropping the battle between Israel Salmon, who is losing touch to Linu Perez. Still in 2nd in the class, but he's dropping down the order under the clutches of the man in 2nd in rookie, Jose Mauro Nieto. Another car, that's Mariotti off the road. Miguel Mariotti. Now, he slipped back with those issues that he had, but whatever the issue was for Mariotti, that's his race done early. So there are a couple of cars off in what will be slow zones, and that could potentially put the kibosh on either Pietro Fantin closing in on the lead, but also as well whether or not Muller and Gyasi stay in that order. They'll come across the line to start the last lap of the race. So one more time around the 13.6 kilometre Le Mans 24-hour course. Muller leads it, Gyasi 2nd, Fantin 3rd, Paludo 4th, Regueiras in 5th position, Pipo Massa in 6th, holding the rookie category. And it's 7th for Bassani, 8th for Comparato, 9th for Lucas Salles, who's dropped back a little bit. He's 7 seconds off Comparato at this point. And Lili Perez rounds up the top 10. But it's Boisel, Salmon, Nieto, Ehrman, and Malicelli in the top 15. Followed by Moore, Orta, Mello, Pizzani, and Campos. That's the top 20. As we go into the Dunlop S's for the final time. More battles going back and forth as Salmon tries to defend from Jose Mauro Nieto. Winding their way through this curving section. It used to be over the crest of what was the Dunlop Bridge, straight down, and then going left and right. That took you back to this section. You rise over that crest, underneath the advertising board, and then flick right onto Terre Rouge. And the exit you get here is absolutely crucial. Now, slow zone or yellow flags into the first chicane, so no overtaking. Gyasi can't pass, but he'll stick close on the exit so he can make an attack. This is it. This is now or never now on this last lap. Which one of these two drivers wants it more? The championship leader or one of the toughest and most battle-ready drivers in the championship this year, Jeff Gyasi? It's Muller versus Gyasi for the victory, and Muller knows that Gyasi's on his way. He's going from left to right. Might be a bit questionable, but he's trying to drake the toe where he can. There's a streak down towards the complex for the final time. Under brakes. Can he hold on? He's trying as much as he can. They're going to go wheel to wheel through the second chicane. Back on the power again. Gyasi will really go for this now. He's in the tow. He's going to give everything he's got. Fantin's back in third. Looks like he's safe for the moment. Car 83 gets a 5-second penalty. That is Marco Billy for his 7th track infringements. But we'll look to that in a second, because Gyasi, no matter where Muller goes, is not going to leave him alone. He's trying to stay in the tow here, over the crest and down towards the Mulsanne corner for the final time. Now, we've been side by side here before. Will he do it again? Can he get the run here off the corner? He's trying. He'll be in the tow. And car 11 gets a 5-second penalty also, but again, we'll come back to that later on. Here comes Gyasi, he's on the boost. This is the chance he's got then. Pulls himself alongside. Muller might be out of boost entirely. And Gyasi streaks past and takes the lead. Muller will come back at him. But will he dare to go side by side? But Gyasi has enough boost left in him to start to pull the gap, and that might well be it. That might be game, set and match, unless Muller has anything left to try and come back at him. On the approach to Indianapolis, Muller will stick close where he can. They're encouraging him in the garage. A little wide over the gravel. That might give Muller the opportunity he needs. He pulls himself level. They're wheel-to-wheel down towards the Arnage corner. Looking for the up and under. First gear, back on the power. Stand on that right pedal and charge it back towards the pits. This matters now. This is it. Wheel-to-wheel for the lead. Fantin's not quite totally out of this. But if these two get messy, it might well bring him into play in the final few corners. Nose to tail, on the approach towards Maison Blanche, towards the Porsche curves. And here comes Muller to the outside line. Will he try and make that move? Has he got enough grip and confidence? He's trying, he's going for it, tries to look for the move, but Gyasi throws the block, and that might well be it. Unless Muller has anything left, Gyasi's doing everything he can to hold this. Through the Porsche curves, left, then right, then left again. Which one's about to make history? Through the left, up towards the little right-left kink past karting corner. And now up towards the Ford chicane for the final time. It might well be too late. There are plenty of Brazilians that have raced here before and had their own little bit of glory or history at Le Mans. But Jeff Gyasi, if he just holds on for the final few corners, might well be about to make his. Into the Ford chicane. Left, right, all over the curves. It might be a sprint to the finish, but Jeff Gyasi will hold on, puts his foot to the floor, goes to the checkered flag, and Jeff Gyasi takes victory in the first race of the weekend for Porsche Cup Brasil, but only by 0.144 of a second, barely a tenth and a half, in an absolute battle of intensity and incredible racecraft all the way to the checkered flag. Jeff Gyasi will be absolutely delighted at that. That's his second win of the season, and what a place to do it at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Second for Marcel Muller, third for Pietro Fanti from 13th on the grid. That's an incredible drive. Fourth goes to the poleman, Marcus Regueiras. But Paludo's fourth, Regueiras fifth. Pipo Massa, what an astonishing occasion for him to get rookie victory and sixth overall on his first visit to Le Mans. Bassani seventh, she'll be delighted with that too. Comparato eighth, Sales ninth, and Linu Perez will take the victory in the sport category as well. And if you're watching at home, do give these guys and girls a round of applause, because they have put on quite a show. And now Le Mans knows what Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil is all about, because they have put on some incredible racing back and forth for the last 45 minutes. But Jeff Gyasi, this is going to be a moment that he will remember for the rest of his career. When he came to Le Mans for the very first time, he fought, he was gutsy, he was determined, he made move after move that basically stunned everyone back and forth. And in the end, it was on the boost, on the run towards Indianapolis, that got in the move that won him the race. And surely this will now put him in a great position for the rest of the championship. Race 2 on Saturday will be a partial reverse grid. It's either the top 6, 7 or 8 that get reversed, which means that it'll either be on pole position. I mean, get this, it would either be Pipo Massa, Antonello Bassani, or this man, Matthias Comparato. Can you imagine that? Imagine also the front row of Antonello Bassani and Pipo Massa. That's going to be a real run down towards the Dunlop chicane for the first time. And also, what a front row that'll be at Le Mans. Absolutely incredible. There's Pipo Massa, another rookie victory. Can you believe it? 16 years old, only in his first year of car racing. He is absolutely a chip off the old man's block. He really is. And showcasing to the world that if he chooses to go with the GT route, I think Brazilian future might well be in safe hands. And there is the celebration on pit wall. Vamos, they say on the pit wall. As Jeff Gyasi celebrates, and that is a victory that will mean a lot to him and to his team and to everyone involved that puts his car on the grid. And that's what it means. As for Felipe Massa, that's a smile on his face, and no wonder. He's proud of his boy, and he should be. Of course, Porsche has an amazing history here at Le Mans, not just with the 24 hours. Of course, they've had these Carrera Cup races before. They're a great support to the main event. And it's the first visit for Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. And I'd like to think that even just with that first race here for them in their history, it might well be a case of, yes, please, thank you very much, do come again. So here's some of the highlights from race number 1. It was a good start for Marcus Regueiras, but going back at him on that first few moments of the start was Marcel Muller. He went wheel to wheel on towards the chicane, and he managed to just not quite grab the lead, but he was putting the pressure on Regueiras all the way through. Good start from Gyasi and also from Felipe Massa. His few cars went wide, but they filtered their way through onto the Mulsanne straight for the first time when Muller took the lead. There was battles galore. There was huge dives up the inside from many involved. Israel Salmon tried to make a move on Mariotti, and also Bassani was all over the place, being attacked by the Lucas Salles Porsche. Marcel Muller immediately making moves over the curb and taking the lead from Regueiras as Felipe Massa and co watched on with his son. This was an astonishing piece of drive from Jeff Gyasi. It's the reason why he won the race. He got past both Marcel Muller and Marcos Regueiras almost down towards Indianapolis, but he was gutsy enough to go side by side and really push the issue from the opening lap. This is what the entertainment that these guys provided on this first lap of the race. It set the tone for the 45 minutes ahead. Lucas Salles made the move on the sport category leader, as well did Pietro Fantin. That was one of the stories of the race, as Thiago Vivacqua, who could have been a factor in the race, had to pit with an issue, and he was put to the back of the field. Battles galore up and down the order, and then we had one car off the road, Moristoni, frustrated after he went off the road. And there we see Francisco Horta, who tapped around Marco Billy. That's the reason why he dropped down. He was quite far down the order. Side by side, 3 wide, and Gyasi again at it. Look at this, side by side, getting past Muller and Regueiras, and even almost Miguel Paludo under brakes in towards the second chicane. It was gutsy driving from Jeff Gyasi. That's the reason why he is the most dangerous man of the championship, for all the right reasons. He does not give up, and he will go for any move possible that other drivers might not even dare try. He was in the tow of Paludo. This 5-car fight that included Paludo, Gyasi, Muller, Regueiras, and Pipo Massa. And of course, Pietro Fantin was working in the wings. And by the time they got to the Mulsanne corner, Gyasi had made up basically 3 spots in just 2 corners. They were stacked up nose to tail, as we saw a couple of drivers that were thinking about making tyre changes. There were some slight sprinkles of rain around the circuit, but not too much to affect things. Again, Mariotti had a wild moment exiting the Forest S's onto Terre Rouge, and that lost him places. And then this move here was incredible. Jeff Gyasi down the outside towards Indianapolis. They went wheel to wheel towards the apex, but Gyasi stood his ground. Muller put his foot down, bounced over the gravel, and had to hold on to second place, which brought his wing mirror in. That was the delight of Jeff Gyasi's team. There was a change for the sport category lead. And here, on the run to the checkered flag, Marcel Muller put his foot down and tried everything he could. But Jeff Gyasi makes Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil history on their debut weekend at Le Mans. But he takes victory at the most prestigious sports car circuit of them all, the Le Mans 24 Hours, victory outright. It was a sport category win for Lini Perez and a very special rookie victory for Pipo Massa, only 16 years old, at this incredible place to race. So there's the confirmation of the result. Jeff Gyasi, by just under a 1/10.5, takes the victory in race 1 for Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil at Le Mans. Marcel Muller second. Pietro Fantin from 13th on the grid goes to third. Then Miguel Paludo, the last year's champion. Marcos Regueiras, and an incredible 6th for Pipo Massa as he picks up that victory. Then it's 7th place for Bassani, 8th for Comparato, 9th for Salles, and Lidu Perez, the sport category winner in P10. Then Israel Salmon, Jose Maranhetto, Pedro Boisel, Seba Maricelli, and Francisco Horta from Christian Moore. Then it's Herman, Mello, Pisani, and Campos in the top 20, with Sanchez, Zimkovic, Campos, Vivacqua back up to 24th after he pissed on the opening lap. Souza, a recovering Michael Fassbender after he spun at the first chicane. Then Billy, Pontes, Kim, Gadzinski, Guedes, and then the 4th non-finishers, Miguel Mariotti, off the road in the gravel, as was Paulo Souza, as was Josimar Jr., and Moristoni went off after contact up at Mulsanne corner. 35 starters, 31 took the checkered flag in the end. And the fastest lap of the race was taken by Pietro Fantin, 4 minutes 5.613. And breathe. because that was an extraordinary 45 minutes of racing. But you have to say, Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil did themselves proud here today, and they've still got one more race to go on Saturday morning. And what a way that's going to be a way to entertain one of the biggest crowds of the weekend. And that's the man who dared to make any move that, frankly, others probably wouldn't have done. He put that car into positions where, frankly, it shouldn't have been, and made it stick and made it work. Jeff Gyasi, he really is a true racer with some of the moves he's pulled off. I thought some of the move he pulled off up the inside when he dummied Comparato at Interlagos was a great one. He's been absolutely nothing but standout in the moves he's made. Pipo Massa, he keeps on impressing. 16 years old, we'll keep on saying it, but he really is a talent for the future, and he's achieving this already at this young age, of course being guided by his F1 superstar race-winning driver and former Ferrari racer Felipe. He really is on a great path to great things for himself and for Brazilian motorsport. Alírio Perez, who managed to overcome Israel Salman, the sport category winner, he, of course, will pick up his victory in the sport class as well. Quite competitive category for the, I like to call them more enthusiast drivers, because I mentioned I don't quite like using the term amateur because it implies they have no talent, which is absolutely wrong. They do have great talent. But Alírio Perez, who has had 6 consecutive seasons in Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, and he actually came to motorsport entirely by accident. He discovered it track days during the COVID pandemic and finds himself in a professional racing series within months. Lives in Sao Paulo, consistent front runner in the sport class. And he did well considering he had multiple laps deleted for track limits in qualifying. And of course, that car being green and red, it's one of the most distinctive cars that you'll find on the grid. Particularly one of the most distinctive numbers too, which is quite fun. So Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil certainly has not disgraced itself for anything. It has impressed immediately. What a fantastic race it was. There's one race down at Le Mans, and there is still one more to go on Saturday morning. So thanks for watching. It's been an amazing occasion to make a debut at Le Mans for Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. History has been made, and there's more to be made on Saturday. It is Jeff Gyasi with the overall victory with a gutsy drive. It's the sport category win for Alírio Perez, and another rookie win and 6th overall for Pipo Massa. For myself, Scott Woodward, it's been an incredible pleasure to call a race of all places Le Mans. And for all of us here at Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, thanks for watching. You